Nate, let's start with Vikings here because I just mentioned them with JJ McCarthy. Let's split up the blame pie here. To me, I think the QB right now, JJ McCarthy, has to own the biggest slice of the pie here. Second, I would say is supporting cast, and I'll mention why in a second. Third, I would say is play caller. And then 4 is randomness. I think it was kind of predictable that this team would struggle a little bit with a young quarterback. But again, to me, I think McCarthy's play is the biggest reason why there is some up and downness here. Not so much play caller, supporting cast. Even though, again, I think supporting cast, just because of some of the injuries along the offensive line, maybe that has been a little bit of what they haven't quite expected this year.
Yeah, I mean, I like your ranking. Maybe the actual pie chart would make that yellow section, the QB section, probably eat up about 3/4 of that supporting cast,
yes,
and about 3/4 of the play caller, and about half of the randomness. No, I think this is a proper ranking. It's kind of hard with them because I think even supporting cast, their offensive line has just been so in flux because of injuries, and now it's actually getting healthy again. Where Ryan Kelly, their center, is going to be coming back too. So that's been the big thing that even when Carson Wentz was out there as kind of the human pincushion, like him going out there was because of like, all right, we got to sort out the offensive line. Someone's got to take these shots as far as hits to the body. So let him be out there. I think even receiving wise, Addison missed time, but then he's been back for a while now. And then I also think, Justin Jefferson, one of the best players in the world at his position. And also Hawkinson's kind of taking a little bit of a step back, but I'm just even thinking of their supporting cast. Jalen Naylor has been good. Another receiver that I think he's a free agent after this year as well. That's such an interesting receiver free agency class. Sidebar. But then also running back wise, I think the running backs are good. So I think the supporting cast has been good, like overall, like still one of the better ones. I even said before the season, this is what led to some Vikings optimism, is that I had them as a playoff team, as a sneaky playoff team, was that the rest of it, the run game should be good, which it has been. The play calling and the passing game should have plenty of supporting weapons that even outside of Jefferson, you got kind of nice secondary options, which they do. And then the defense should be, it's kind of worked its ways. Andrew Van Ginkel coming back has really helped, but the defense is a defense that can, win you games or keep you in games. Like the Lions game was a perfect example of this. But then I just kept saying that McCarthy just had to be like the 22nd best quarterback. The problem is that he's been the sometimes 37th or 35th best quarterback based on what stats you're looking at. So of this pie chart, this blame game, the blame pie, I think owns a significant part of that, even if other parts have just happened because of injuries, I would say more than anything.
Yeah, the pictures aren't, oh my God, yeah, quarterback efficiency chart as we're showing here.
I test for any number you look at, man. It's bottom of the barrel.
It's just not great. Yeah, the actual visual representation of our slices, that's like getting us in the ballpark, okay? To me, it's just who deserves the biggest slice that we got to eat here, and I think quarterback is a significant, like by a lot, he deserves. He's got to eat most of this pie. He better be having an empty stomach because he's going to have to eat a lot of pie on this one. And I want to know from you, Nate, when you watch, and it's been 4 starts. Okay. So we're not going to come on here and kill the kid and say he's never going to be good or whatever. Want to get that out of the way, that we're not just saying this is over forever. But when you watch McCarthy, what is the biggest reason that you think he is, I think, objectively struggling right now and not able to activate what should be a good situation?
It is a lot of the stuff that he sees. He will get to the right answer. It's just a lot of his decisions, especially when they kind of, as the game goes along and you get off plays that you've practiced multiple times, opening script, is the usual term you hear. But when you get off of that, is that everything is just, it takes a second. It's a second slow. It's obvious to me that he kind of needs reps on plays that maybe he's not comfortable with. And that's what the NFL becomes. That's why vets become vets, or feel like vets, is that they just have reps at these plays that, okay, I didn't practice it much this week, but we did it like 20 times last year, and we can pull up film from 4 years ago when we ran it against this team and against this defense coordinator. For a quarterback that didn't play a ton in college and didn't also, when he did play, was a run heavy scheme, he just hasn't had a lot of game reps. So I always knew that he'd be more of a project type, but now it's in year 2, faced the injury as a rookie as well. So he basically took a redshirt year. It is very apparent, very apparent. He's kind of a step behind where you see even most rookies or first year starters. It's just obviously needs reps. So everything kind of is a step slow. So he might get to the right route. And that's why a lot of his best throws are to the outside because it's cleanest for him. So when he has to do stuff that's more timing based, or if he gets knocked off or just moved off of his launch point, then everything just kind of comes unraveled. His footwork comes unraveled. Where his head's at comes unraveled. And because his throwing motion, he has a good arm, but because his throwing motion is a little elongated, it's not like Byron Leftwich, but it's a little elongated. Then it's just defenders have an ability to recover. So that's padded balls. That's a DB be able to make a break on the ball. Roquan Smith is another good example of what happened. So to me, it's a guy that needs reps, but and I keep using the term catch-22 of all the Vikings is this is a team that wants to compete. So they wanted to do the rookie contract thing, which I totally get. You can make that bet, but this is the bad thing of when the quarterback is not ready to play, even though he's on a rookie quarterback contract. It's that, well, yeah, that's maybe betting on a guy that comes in even like a Herbert. Not Herbert, he was way too good as a rookie, but guys that can just be like a little bit average, like Knicks last year. I think maybe is a good example, or even what Penix has done a little bit this year, but not bottom of the barrel play. And it's just a guy that needs a lot of reps because stuff is just it's pretty fast for him.
No, I think that is like so well said. And it's funny you bring up, what they wanted to do, right? They wanted to get on the rookie quarterback contract. And that also allowed them to add some more pieces on defense, add some more pieces on the offensive line, like build up the ecosystem so that the margin for error for the quarterback is better. That being said, though, I think it has created this pressure box where because the team is good around him, there's this, this could be a playoff team. So just bench McCarthy for Carson Wentz, or they should have kept Daniel Jones. Should they have traded for Jameis Winston or something like this? Like in the long run, the kid needs reps. And I mean, I shouldn't be calling him kids. I sound like a grandpa, but the guy needs reps. Okay. He just, he so clearly does, to the point that benching him would make no sense. They need to ride this out, but it's just, it's frustrating for those of us who
it's rough waves.
It's not a smooth ride, right? You're right. Even if he was playing at Penix's level, it would be one thing. But because he's not, we know that Justin Jefferson has produced with basically any quarterback, and he's averaging fewer than 60 yards per game with JJ McCarthy under center. That I think leads to this pressure box, this frustration. And it's just funny, Nate, because I joked about this, that one of the things I'm trying to do less of as an analyst is, especially when I'm doing fantasy and I'm ranking, is baking in, well, if I can tell myself a story about this, okay, I'll bump this guy up for that. But teams do it too. Like that's where it's just human nature. You do, and this is one of those situations where I can see the Vikings in my mind. Well, if we build up everything around him, he doesn't have to be that good or whatever. And then you get him on the field. It's just the practical application of that. The story is not what they were telling themselves.
No, that's it. I call it narrative scouting. And sometimes narrative scouting can be useful because you're like, oh, yeah, that guy had this because he didn't play a bunch and maybe it leads to this. But sometimes this is what happens all the time when, the laziest version, or the version you hear all the time, like during the draft cycle, it's the Deebo Samuel role. It's something of that sort, which before was, the Percy Harvin role. And even those two players who had similar usage also got there in wildly different ways. So it's just some of that is just that, like you say, a story or a way to just neatly package what you're trying to like sell or trying to do. Like that kind of is a way to do it. And I think that's even with what they told themselves. Although this is what's just been so interesting to me is just the messaging has been so odd. I don't know how to describe it. Odd. I know Vikings fans have been kind of in their feels about it, but it's just one of these things where, the rumors about Daniel Jones, the rumors about Aaron Rodgers, and you could say that's just all, national media trying to stir something up. It's out there for a reason. And that's all I've been trying to point out whenever I talk about this. It's like, that is just so off the usual like narrative that maybe you even use that term. Is just not the usual reporting, not the usual context clues that you see. And so that's why maybe they knew that maybe this guy, maybe he needs another redshirt year, or maybe we wait until after a bye week, or we wait until drop him in that maybe needs more time. So that's why I'm just keeping an eye on it always. But also this is something, and this might be a quirk. This is something I just found interesting because I was looking up other stats. I was looking up Caleb Williams actually. But I kind of created a stat in True Media. I didn't create this actual stat, but this is what I had to do in True Media, which is QB hits, which are when the quarterback's knocked down without taking a sack, and QB sacks divided by dropbacks. So just knockdowns. This is stats available in other ways, but I'm just explaining my process here. I can look back to 2019. There's 224 team seasons. So it's 2019. The Vikings under Kevin O'Connell, their offenses have ranked 218th, as in they allow one of the top 10 most knockdowns per dropback. In 2023, it was 221st, which is bottom 5. In 2024, 123rd, so about league average. Then this year in 2025, they're 219th out of 224. So just under KOC, they've had 3 of the bottom 10 seasons as far as how much the quarterback gets hit. The difference is Kirk. It's a very aggressive offense, a lot of deep play action, a lot of deep dropbacks. So that's going to create some late pressure on stuff and hits. The difference is those are sacks this year. While prior years it was just Kirk Cousins getting absolutely haymakered and clothesline or Sam Darnold last year. But the ball's out. And it's a good play is happening. Now those are turning into sacks. That's why this all feels so different. And that's why everyone's like, oh my God, KOC, why are you doing this? It's like, this is the formula, dude. Like this is what you have to do to succeed. And it's good. It's what you want to get to, but that's the difference of this year. Is this McCarthy's a little thinner and he's a little slower to get rid of the ball. Hits are now sacks, which should be a 50-50 thing. Like half of your total hits or knockdowns are going to be hits and half are going to be about sacks. Now it feels more like it's like 80% when it's McCarthy. And that's just kind of a little math thing, a little thing I looked up and found like an hour ago. And I was like, oh, this is relevant to what we're talking about. So kind of fits neatly here.
No, that's a great way of explaining exactly what's happening to me, at least, is that I think McCarthy just always feels a beat slow and then knows he's slow. So when he does get rid of the ball, it's just like line driving it and it's not accurate. That's another problem when he does actually get it. And that's, to me, and we'll transition on this, but it reminds me a lot of, and I'll put myself in this category too. It reminds me a lot of what people were kind of saying about Anthony Richardson and the Colts last year. To me, I was like, man, why aren't they kind of running the Gardner Minshew, kind of the more Mickey Mouse stuff, and just with the more talented quarterback, they're trying to get all these deep developing plays. It's like, well, now you put a different quarterback in and all that same offense looks pretty freaking good. And that's just a guy that has seen a lot more football than Daniel Jones. So that's just kind of and again, what inspires me about this blame game is that we try to, look, the coach should be doing this, the coach should be doing that. And we just judge it so much based on outcomes when really a lot of coaches cater their offense to the player that they have. And sometimes that can be a mistake, but all right, with that, let's go ahead.
I was going to say, why don't the Eagles throw the ball over the middle? Why doesn't the 4th offensive coordinator throw the ball over the middle? It's one of those. Oh, well, no, it's they cater to somebody back there. No, but it's very true. It's just how it goes.
100%. Okay, let's get to the Falcons here. This is another team kind of in this category, and they've definitely hit some rough spots this year. I would say blame pie on this one. Quarterback is still number one to me. I would say it's a little bit more spread out, though, why things feel a little disjointed than just Michael Penix. We can talk about Penix and some of his problems. I put a play caller at number 2 just because I think they're one team that feels particularly siloed. I'm not 100% in love with what Zach Robinson has done this year. I think sometimes they've avoided this hitting the easy button with Drake London. Now they've gotten a little bit back to that the last few weeks, which has been good. Speaking of that, I think supporting cast does have to carry some weight here because outside of the run game and outside of Drake London, I think basically everything else leaves you wanting more, which I'm fine with them just hammering Drake London over and over again because I think that really helps Penix out, but it would be nice if Darnell Mooney could make a play ever. That would be cool. And then I put randomness 4th on this one as well. There's some random stuff about how they're better at home versus not, but those splits have kind of been wonky as well. So I don't know, Nate, when you look at this blame pie, where I still think quarterback needs to eat the biggest slice here, but there's some other stuff going on in this offense.
Yeah, this pie like makeup is a little more equal. Like it's just like slight percentages, like slight slivers of the pie is the difference. But you kind of, it's tough because it's not like it's a definitive one where I'm like, it's Penix is the absolute issue. It's like, it is more of a true spread it out blame game. And the supporting cast, I'll start with supporting cast, is O-line has been getting hit and O-line's had some injuries, and that even a guy like Matthew Bergeron, who not a household name, has been playing really well at left guard for them. You lose him. You lose, I know they have a new center, but he's okay. You lose your right tackle, like multiple right tackles. So there's been some of that even outside of the I was trying to think of the best way to put it. Like their secondary pieces, like you mentioned it, but it's just like Mooney. I know Ray McClaw's not even on the team anymore, but just anybody else step up. Tyler Algier, you're a special boy. You can do whatever you want. No, but anybody else kind of step up. I love my hamster ball. But just even like they feel sloppy outside the main guys. Like this is a team that fired their receiver coach midseason, which is a rare thing. And that has just been kind of like, they're a mess. Like they just feel like a mess as a team, just overall, even outside the offense, even on offense, because they use so much pistol. And I know, and again, using football stats, they have to have some context with them because there's a lot of reasons why they get to this. Zach Robinson says it's because Bijan Robinson is best from pistol and he likes pistol. And it's because I don't think the quarterback can bend his knees and do the under center stuff. And I think consistently and when I watch them, they're trying to do more play action. But the thing is, how they have to do the action is unusual to me. They're doing a lot. I mean, just watch Penix. He has to do all these twirls and flip arounds and hip flips. To me, for a guy that struggles with accuracy, that is the worst thing you could possibly do. Because just stand in your room right now, anyone listening, and spin around once, and then now try and engage yourself again. Like, if for a guy, good athletes and the best guys can do that. But Penix is, he's kind of a stiff mover. And with that, and also his footwork as a thrower, he really elongated as well, where he throws the absolute piss out of the ball. Like he has some of the highest RPMs in the league. But the thing is that he has that long stride that leads to sprays. So if you have a long stride and then you have to do extra choppy footwork, that to me can lead to a lot of sprays, which is like, there they are. Like I don't think anyone that's watched a Falcons game has seen plenty of sprays. So it's one of these things where even when they try to do the right things, there's still some lack of thoughtfulness, which is the siloed offense that you're speaking to. So even when they're trying to break down the silos, it's kind of like, half-assed. Like, it's kind of just that, and which is kind of explains the Falcons. Like that kind of, I'm not like, it's not like, well, this is a weird thing with this team. It's like, no, this is kind of how everything they've done really in the last couple of years. This is what it's felt like. So the offense is just kind of the latest indicator of all this.
The YouTube chat says that play caller is actually most to blame, which I think they're probably just mad that Tyler Algier gets red zone work in a fantasy
Fire
YouTube
Arthur
chat.
Smith.
But yeah, hey Arthur,
my favorite
Smith. It's aging well. Tyler Algier's a great goal line back. Sorry guys. Listen, I got Bijan Robinson
Smith looked good in Miami.
Yeah. Kyle Pitt's not doing too much. Remember when that was the whole thing? What a time. The Falcons always provide us with something to talk about. But yeah, I think with Penix, the footwork is just such a mess sometimes, and I think some of that is a little bit just how he plays. As you mentioned, he gets off his spot, and I don't think he's fundamentally sound in how he can rework out of structure. Like you see, some of these guys are so natural at it. But there are parts of his game, like when I watch him play, I don't want to just yank him out of the lineup. I
Me
think
either. I think you can win with Penix. Like that's a big distinction between some of the other guys I'm negative on. Penix is just not a perfect quarterback, but you can win with it, right? Because he's going to be streaky, but you can, if you have a decent run game, they're built how they should be built, where they should be a top 5 run game, and then Penix will be some inconsistencies. But guess what? You get 18% explosive pass rate, and you just hit these big chunks. Yeah, you miss some sprays and yada, 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 but you can win with certain team structures. And on the flip side, their defense isn't built to win how they should be winning on offense either. That's kind of, they're a mess. They're a mess.
That's actually, I think, the thing I would say the most about, and again, this is where some of the stuff goes a little bit beyond just play caller. It is the vibes of the staff, the vibes of the organization. I brought this up a lot with Penix in the offseason. Anytime you talk to people that are close to the team or anybody that knows the situation, they would just tell you how much this team just is obsessed with Penix, and they really think he is the next big thing. I think they probably could have done with a little bit better realism of, hey, he's got some flaws. How can we work around those flaws, and how can we sort of fit him into a bit more of a box? And maybe that happens. I don't know. We'll see if the staff is around next year. We'll see if any of this is around next year, but maybe next year they can be a little bit more realistic with him, because I think having more options on offense to maybe unlock would be good. Even though, again, I think with their current construction, they should never leave a game without Drake London getting 10 footballs thrown his way. That should be the mandatory every single game. But with the current construction, that's one thing. But maybe add some more credible options there. I just think they're, as we always talk, you and Charles and I always talk about the Falcons, they're just a little delusional. They're just a little bit adrift from reality and true expectations here. But I think for the rest of the season, I think Penix can get the job done that from a fantasy perspective we want. Like he can get Drake London to these massive games. You know, he can be supported by a good run game with both of these guys. It's not your fault that you haven't picked up Tyler Algier in fantasy yet. That guy should be 100% rostered. Get it done. And I'm sick of seeing the 30% rostered rate in Yahoo leagues. We got to jack that number up, folks. Like you can benefit from that as well. So, all right, we're back. We're continuing to run through a little blame game on some of these struggling offenses. The second section, these are the offenses that we expected more. These were supposed to be better. We've got Broncos, we've got Packers, we've got Bills. And listen, I'm not pulling any metrics out of here, any of that. We're just going off feel and the eye test on this. So I don't care, Nate, if the commenters are about to be like, well, actually, this team is still third in this metric or that, or maybe you're going to do that. I don't know. But we're going off just how it feels right now. And these three teams don't feel good. So we're going to figure out what the problems is. Let's start with the Denver Broncos on this one. Okay. We just talked about this, Nate, yesterday, and I think we both know how the other feels about this, but we should talk about it for the fantasy bros here because there's a lot of players people care about on this offense for one reason or another. Broncos, the blame pie, I think it's QB by a lot in terms of the blame pie here. I would say 2 is randomness, and I said that only because of how weird they feel quarter to quarter, but maybe you can tell me that's actually part of the quarterback here. And then number 3, I said supporting cast because I think there are some interesting players here. I do not think the skill position group is perfect by any means, but I think they've got some useful players. And then I said 4 is play caller by a lot. This is one where I just completely reject the notion that, Sean Payton is somehow holding Bo Nix back. I think this is one of those ones where we talked about earlier. Why does the quarterback or why does play caller call these plays? Well, probably because that regardless of what he says, how he feels about his quarterback. So Nate, Broncos, Bo Nix, where are we at right now?
Yeah. Well, our show yesterday on Football 301, it was what could be the fatal flaws for playoff teams. And some of them were like, run game, red zone defense, like for the Patriots. And this one was just Bo Nix. And that's so, I agree that he is the biggest issue with all this because when watching this offense and now watching it for a year and a half, for a player that had a lot of starts in college and a lot of reps in college, it's an offense that's very limited right now. It's a ton of screens. And there's using stuff like screens and play action to kind of really help boost up your quarterback, but the quarterback still has to put over the top. Like the Rams run screens and play action as much as anybody, but then you watch the Rams offense and you're like, oh my God, because the ball's just sailing 20 yards down the field and it's touchdowns and big plays. When watching a team like the Broncos that has, guardrails or training wheels, whatever you want to call it, there's still kind of a cap to a lot of these plays. There are shot plays they call, but they're, not completed very often. But then even on other plays where it's something down the field or supposed to be down the field, as soon as Nix has moved off his launch point, and he doesn't take a lot of sacks, but this was the kind of term I used yesterday it's a denominator issue where he's moved off the launch point, he's checking it down or he's scrambling. And so when you check it down or scramble, as opposed to get moved off your launch point, my eyes are up and I'm going to launch this throw and you have to really check. Well, then the defender's eyes come downfield. So now that he might scramble a lot, they haven't been leading to successful scrambles, which matters. If you're not going to put the ball out and play, well, you better be worthwhile when you're using your legs. You better be making those effective plays. So while I watch Nix and he has a great arm, he's a great athlete, his footwork and his processing right now are just subpar. And it just leads to this offense. And Sean Payton, again, has been calling plays for a long time, calling plays well for a long time, and can call kind of a varied offense. It's very traditional, but he can call a little bit of everything. Watching this offense week in, week out, they're calling the same plays on second and long. They're calling the same plays every third down. They're calling the same concepts, the same protections. And defenses are now really starting to tee off on it, especially really good defenses like the Texans. Just anything that happens with anything you watch in that game, it was just like they couldn't do anything on offense until that last drive. And then it bears out in the stats too. I mean, I can get into that, but there's 26 quarterbacks with 200 or more attempts this season. He's bottom 5 in passes 10 or more air yards, bottom 5 in net yards and attempt, and that's not with not taking a lot of sacks. 21st in explosive pass rate, 25th in success rate on dropbacks, out 26 again, 26 on success rate on just pass attempts. And just to kind of sum this up, when they drafted Bo Nix, or leading into that process of that they might draft a quarterback, I kept thinking that Sean Payton would go two ways with his quarterback, which was early Drew Brees with the Saints, was play action, unpin the grenade, and launch stuff. It actually looked a little similar to what the Rams are doing right now. Play action, big chunk plays, or what the Vikings did with Darnold. Or it was late career Drew Brees, which was quick game, awesome run game. Quick game, awesome run game, but you're hyper efficient. And then you maybe break a tackle and that's your explosive. They do neither. Bo Nix is not efficient enough as an operator to be the quick game merchant that I was like maybe that they would go towards when they drafted a quarterback in that draft. And he's not consistent as a deep ball thrower, or just gets moved off his launch point and just his accuracy wanes to be able to kind of like a deep ball merchant. So it's just kind of the worst of both worlds right now. So watching this offense, it's just, that more than anything. I don't think the supporting cast, the offense line's good. I think the pass catchers are solid. You and I always talk about it. They're fine. We like Pat Bryant a little bit. We know what Cortland Sutton is. Tight ends are weak. I'll acknowledge that. And I think the running backs are okay as well. But say they're average overall, average supporting cast with a top 3 defense, with a top, at very least, top 10 play caller, top 8 play caller. All right, I can kind of figure out where maybe the issues lay. And that's what I test statistically. That's where they all lay.
Yeah, I made this point to you yesterday that Bo Nix has the lowest pressure to sack rate in the NFL, which you mentioned. It's good that he doesn't take sacks, but when he's under pressure, he's also 30th out of 34 quarterbacks in adjusted yards per attempt. So it's just like, great. You evaded the sack and then nothing good happens. He's between Tua and Cam Ward. Tell me how those guys are doing this year. One's a rookie quarterback and one guy's throwing interceptions like it's his job. So it's just at this point, I think, again, I know what's going on here. Like, I know what the deal is. My question to you is just, can this get better? Can this get better with Bo Nix? Can this get better with this offense? Not just from a fantasy standpoint, but even just, this is a team that's, we're talking about this, and they have an 8-2 record. They're one of the best teams in their conference record wise. Like, can this formula get them anywhere going forward? And that's what I even said yesterday. They are for sure like worthy of being a playoff team. Like, maybe if they lose one of those games, they're 7-3, but it's not like, oh my God, this has been pure luck. Wait until it craps out. I think the thing is, max they can win one playoff game, and really it's dependent on who. Put it this way, it's very dependent on who they play in the wild card round, which is to me not a contender. If you actually have to like worry about who you play against, so I think anyone with a valid defense, well, they're going to be able to hang in those games. But then you look at who's currently in the playoffs. It's like, all right, who's that going to be? The Bills, but that's still just, there's a limitation to what this version of this is. The best way to help Bo Nix, because you already got a defense, you already got a good old line, is just like something, maybe the Eagles did with AJ Brown. You need an actual top 8 real dude receiver that can just win everything. We both like Sutton, but we just kind of know what his tier is. But again, how are those available? How can you get one of those guys? That's a whole conundrum that they have to sort out. So there's just a huge cap to what they do, because especially playoff time, and the run game is solid but not great, average. So it's just one of those things too, where it's like there's a cap to this version of it, and the best ways to do it is you have to add some high end skill talent. So that's an off-season conundrum. I have a Jimmy Horn stat for you too. Once we finish the segment, that I'm very excited to share with you. Okay, good. I can't wait to hear it. My last point on Denver. There's this mystery in the fantasy community. Like, why is Troy Franklin outscoring and out targeting Cortland Sutton? And to me, it's just when you're a good but not great and like acceptable number one receiver, like you can get away with this guy as your number one, but he's not in that same tier of guys that we were mentioning at that level. That player, especially when you only line up at X receiver, look at some of these guys we're talking about, by the way. T-Mac only lines up at X receiver. Cortland Sutton only lines up at X receiver. And it's been a struggle for those guys to consistently hit. That when you have a chaos quarterback, or a quarterback that is not playing well, that guy's always the first one that will struggle. always the first one that will struggle to get the ball.
Yep.
And like nothing has changed about Sutton from last year. When I watch him,
it's just a good point.
Last year that was running hot. Bo Nix was running a little hotter, and now he's not. And that's why Troy Franklin, who I think is, again, he's fine. He's got his role. I don't think he's probably not a guy I'd want as my number 2, but he's perfectly fine to have in your receiver room. He drops the ball too much. He doesn't play through contact. He struggles going over the middle, but he's good on these designer stuff. And yeah, other than that, he's good on some of this designer stuff, and he can get open and create some separation. And that guy has been getting the football more because of that. So that's just a one point about players.
That's a great point, though. That's the same kind of thing kind of I alluded to with T-Mac, is that on third down is where you feel his impact, because the play actually goes to where it's designed, as opposed to when they get into scramble chaos mode, then doesn't matter if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's just who's getting open, and usually it's Bo Nix running to his right. So it's based on even just where you're located on a given play. So yeah, no, that's a very good point about just how that can create kind of chaotic numbers as well, results.